Zach Goviak. We have a very special edition Monday show for you today. It's a pick'em show because,
We always have a Monday show. It's just a pick'em
well,
show.
yeah, well, it's a special edition show. You know, now that I think about it, doing the Monday show when the playoff rankings come out on Tuesday probably isn't the smartest thing, but whatever.
So we should probably do that on Tuesday nights.
Fuck,
Somebody wouldn't play hockey.
Well,
Here's the thing. Once the playoff rankings. No, we can always touch on it on Thursday morning.
That's all.
Or Thursday after.
Yeah,
evening.
buddy, do not make me do a Thursday morning show. I will
I
not be
know.
participating in a Thursday morning show.
The Thursday show early, we could touch on
Okay,
it.
so next Tuesday my game is at 10:50, and then the
Why
following
are these
Tuesday,
games so late?
then it's at 11:05 because our ice time is like 9:30 to 11:30 because the stupid ass company that bought the hockey rink gives all the preferential ice time to their shitty AAA program that gets its fucking dicks kicked in by every single team in Detroit that they play. So God forbid. It's a mess. It's a mess.
Yep.
It's a mess. How are you tonight, sir?
I'm doing pretty well, man. I had, I'd mentioned the mid-back thoracic injury I'd been dealing with. I'm about a month in, and I was feeling pretty good. I've been working my way back into lifting. So I'm doing some goblet squats this morning. Second set, 8th rep. I feel a pull in the exact same spot, and it just goes right up to my neck. And I'm like, oh, shit. I'm like, this is not good. So I finished my workout, did my third set, did whatever else I had left, and I not back to square one. It feels a little different now because the pain is sharp, whereas before the pain was never sharp. So I'm hoping a good night's sleep tonight will nullify some of that, and this is not a complete reset because it's been a long, annoying, not painful, but just annoying month. It's not one of those things like I try to be really hard when I say things like hurt. Like if my kid comes up, punches you in the nuts, that hurts. But I'm really he doesn't do that. But like pain, I try to distinguish this is kind of like discomfort versus pain. And it's just been more like an annoying discomfort for a month versus this is kind of pain now. So I'm not sure what's going on. We'll figure it out. Nothing like a trip to Eugene to heal it. But it was a good day, good Monday. We got snow here in Columbus overnight, Ryan.
Yeah, it was, brother, it was fucking cold when I woke up this morning.
Yeah. We got probably 3 inches, maybe 4. I woke up and it was all over my car because I didn't park it in the garage last night. Instantly regretted that.
Yeah, brutal.
And let my car warm up 10 minutes before I left for work so I could be warm. How are you?
Hopefully not as sick anymore. I am at the point where I just go through coughing spits now. I'll go 2 hours and I'll feel fine, and then I'll have a half hour where I just uncontrollably cannot stop coughing.
Do you get any looks from patients, or have you over the past?
Oh, 100%, 100%. They're like, "What's fucking wrong with you?" I'm like,
COVID.
"I don't know." I don't. It's something, man.
He's dying.
One of my patients said, "Do you have walking pneumonia?" I'm like, "Motherfucker, I don't know. I'm a man. I don't go to the doctor."
Yeah. Leah told me the other day. She goes, "I don't want to hear you talk about this again until you go to the doctor." I'm like, "Well, name a time I have time to go to the doctor." I don't have time.
I actually might be going to ortho to talk about getting my hardware taken out of my ankle.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that.
Years
later.
Hurts. Yeah, I when I skated on Tuesday last week, just putting my boot on, it was incredibly uncomfortable, and then I got hit with a puck, and it was on my shin pad, but the pressure of that was also incredibly uncomfortable, and I'll just get weird random sharp pains when I'm trying to stand up. It's not even activity dependent. I can still walk, and I actually don't know if I can run. I haven't run in 2 months, but that's more of a I'm sick thing than anything else. But yeah, it's just starting to get kind of fucking annoying, and I'm I don't really want to deal with this anymore. So we'll see what happens. I'm still waiting for my PCP to get back to me. I love the American healthcare system.
You know who's feeling good, Ryan? The Nebraska fans, because they had their hearts broken when Dylan Raiola snapped his ankle, had surgery, just like you.
That was a hell of a fucking segue there, man.
And TJ Lateef dropping dimes on the UCLA Bruins to help lead Nebraska to a 28-21 win.
Yeah, the fucking Nebraska defense couldn't get one more stop there to keep the under in play. But this was a 28-21 final. It was, I don't know if I would even call it that close. Nebraska was in control for most of this game. They were up by 3 scores for most of it. They had a 21-7 lead at halftime. but a much different game plan than the normal one they run with Dylan Raiola. Only 15 passes for TJ Latif in this one, but he completed 13 of them for 205 yards and 3 touchdowns. 3 of those 13 completions go to Emmett Johnson for 103 yards and 2 scores. And he also added 129 yards and a touchdown on the ground. He was outstanding in this one. The Nebraska defense had a little bit of an issue containing Nico on the ground. He had 86 yards on 15 carries, but overall, I think they did a pretty good job in this game. The UCLA had a long touchdown drive to get within 7. It was 12 plays, 96 yards, with just about 5 minutes to play. But Nebraska got the ball back, used 4 Emmett Johnson runs, a couple of nice pass plays from TJ Latif, killed enough time to get them under the 2-minute warning. No timeouts for UCLA, and they were able to kneel the game out. UCLA is just not great defensively, but I do think this is an encouraging performance for TJ Latif. And, it's a little bit different than the offense that they have been running, kind of a little bit more of an air it out. This one has to be a little bit more balanced, and maybe that's a good thing. So it's still a tough end of the season for Nebraska, man. At Penn State, we'll see what they are after they poured their heart and soul and everything into that game against Indiana last week. And then you finish hosting Iowa. You at least get that at home, but that's a very good Iowa team as well. And this is going to be a pivotal couple of games for Nebraska, Clinton. I mean, they're not playoff hopes at all, but I think there's a drastic difference between finishing 9-3 and finishing 7-5, even with your quarterback out.
Absolutely. Latif impressed, and if he can keep up, obviously 13 of 15 is Julian saying accuracy here. And having not gotten into tune into the entire game, I'm sure some of these, he was a 13.7 average. He wasn't chucking the ball down the field a ton, right? Like the Emmett Johnson one was huge when he hit him on that long touchdown, which was the 56-yarder. But give him easy throws to make to let him settle in, which they didn't get a chance to do the week before when Raiola got hurt because the game plan wasn't for him.
Yep.
So they did a great job this past week getting Latif ready. Very competent out there. It helps a ton, and one of my keys to this game was I thought that Nebraska would lean heavily on Emmett Johnson, and he was pretty much their entire offense with 232 yards, 31 touches, 3 touchdowns. The guy was phenomenal. And again, as I said in the pregame, get him on your draft board. He's really good. On the flip side, flip side of the Nebraska defense, death taxes in Nebraska's pass defense, Ryan. 191 yards they held Nico to. They do not allow 200-yard passers. It doesn't appear. They just held Nico I just said Nico. Good Lord. Jaden Maeva 2 weeks ago now with USC, held him down. Now they held down Nico. He was a little more effective on the ground, like you mentioned, but if you're a team that likes to pass the ball, you don't really want to see the Cornhuskers pass defense because they are very good. Their run defense has been kind of their weakness this year. This was a hell of a win for them. Finding a way again the week after you lose your quarterback. Just ask Penn State when they traveled to Iowa the week after they lost Aller and they lost. It's a hard thing to do. Again, UCLA, keep battling. I don't know what they're going to do with this coaching situation at the end of the season. I think people were trying to float the idea, was it Jim Mora? Bringing Jim Mora back for a round 2. That would be interesting to see what would happen there. I believe he's still at UConn, right?
He is. They're doing quite well.
Yeah, they're 9-3. Well, they're not 9-3. Jesus, 7-3. Just knocked off Duke.
Yep.
So, an impressive season. Maybe they call him back. We'll see what happens there. But overall, a really fun game. I wish it would have started just a tidbit earlier instead of pushing, a little past when our show wrapped up. But good win for Nebraska. Another hard-fought battle for UCLA.
I know he's not your role-in player of the week, Clinton, but yep, good job by Emmett Johnson in this game. But let's transition to that, Clinton. Who?
Hold on.
Who? What are we holding on for?
I clicked off of my thing that had my data, so I'm now re-pulling it up. Yes, roll-in player of the week for Week 11 is Antoine Raymond of Rutgers, running back. However, if you guys give me 1 second, his stat line for running the ball, if I could find it.
Like 41 carries, 240 yards, 2 touchdowns?
Let's see if your memory serves you right. ESPN is not working well. There it is. 41 carries, 240 yards, 1 touchdown. Antoine Raymond, great memory, Ryan. I believe that is a repeat appearance from Mr. Raymond for Roland Player of the Week. Congratulations, Antoine. If you retweet this, if I somehow get it put out trying to travel to Oregon, we'll send you a sticker. Good job.
Clinton, let's make some picks.
Are you ready? These are Inside the Pylons picks of the week.
I feel kind of naked doing this like 72 hours before we normally do. I feel like I don't have.
Yeah, hearing that sound not on a Thursday is kind of odd.
It's really it's messing with my week. I'm like, oh yeah, it's Thursday. I got to sleep in tomorrow. I just got a 5-hour workday. It's like I got to fucking work 12 hours
Tuesday.
Tomorrow.
Yep, same for me.
This is, I don't want to call it a bad week of games in the Big Ten, but it's not a great week of games in the Big Ten, Clinton. But fortunately for us, we have the College Game Day game. Notre Dame is traveling to Pitt to take on the 7-2 Panthers. Clinton, can you tell me the last time Pitt hosted College Game Day?
1985.
It was 2005. Can you tell me who they played?
Larry Fitzgerald. Oh, well, Larry Fitzgerald was on that team, I believe, right? I'm going to guess probably Notre Dame.
It was the first game of the Charlie Weiss era, and Notre Dame beat the fucking shit out of them. The coming out party, I should actually pull up the stats from this game. Hold on. I think it was a Dave Wannstedt coach team.
Well, I thought you'd be addressing more about what Narduzzi said about the game today.
Oh, I got that in there too. So this was a Clinton 42-21 Notre Dame win. Pitt was 23 at the time. Notre Dame had 28 second quarter points. Brady Quinn, 18 of 27 for 227 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception. Darius Walker, 20 carries, 100 yards and a touchdown. Rashawn Powers Neal. Oh, I love playing with him in the old NCAA games. As a fullback. The fullback, 8 carries for 41 yards and 3 touchdowns. Unbelievable. Jeff Samardzija, 3 catches for 34 yards. That's some good old remember some guys. But no, Clinton, this was not a Larry Fitzgerald team. I believe this was right after he got drafted.
Okay.
It was a Tyler Palko quarterback game, if you remember that name.
Okay.
But yes, let's start in talk about what Pat Narduzzi said today. He was asked if this game was a must-win for Pitt, and he said, and I quote, this is a direct quote from the man himself, "Absolutely not. It is not an ACC game. I'd gladly get beat 103 or 110-10 in that game. They could put up 100 on us as long as we win the next 2 after that." Brother, man.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
Even if you're technically right that it doesn't matter because it's an ACC game, why the fuck would you say that at your press conference?
Because he's Pat Narduzzi.
He's a dumbass.
He made some comment like 2 years ago. He said that Ohio State was afraid to play them, or something like that. And I'm like, dude, they'd kill you.
Listen, Clinton, listen. There's history here, but because of this motherfucker.
Lock of the week.
Notre Dame's going to win this game by 40. They are going to beat the fucking hell out of this football team. Listen, he's saying this because he can't help himself talking about Notre Dame. He's been doing this shit for 10 years where he rails on the ACC and the Notre Dame scheduling agreement as if the only reason that conference still doesn't exist is because Notre Dame has attached itself to it. And Florida State and Clemson and Miami are desperately trying to get on Notre Dame's schedule more often than their normal rotation because Notre Dame brings eyeballs, which brings ratings, which brings money. And the ACC doesn't have money, Clinton. Nobody respects this league. Your fucking top-ranked team was 16 in the polls. There's people talking about your team, your champion, not even getting an auto bid to the playoff because Duke at 7-5 could still win the fucking league this year. It's a bad league. You need all the help you can get, man. What are you out here running your mouth for? Never mind the fact, Clinton. Pitt wins this game. They win the next 2 games. They're 10-2. They have a very real chance of being an at-large team in that instance because their next 3 games, Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, Miami, all 3 of those teams are probably going to be top 16-ish teams, probably top 15 teams when they happen to play them, assuming Miami doesn't shit their pants again. You win those games, Clinton. That's a hell of a resume. You'd probably be a playoff team even if you lost the ACC title game. What are you doing? Like, even if you think that, why on earth would you make that joke out loud? It pisses off your fans. It probably makes your players look at you a little sideways in the locker room. Like, why am I out here busting my ass if you're like, I don't give a shit if we win this game? And you goddamn well know that Marcus Freeman is going to be playing that shit all over the locker room this week, saying this dude doesn't even respect you enough to care about this game. They're going to whoop Pitt's ass in this game.
Do you have keys to this game, or is that just your key that they're going to whip their ass?
Well, I do actually have some keys to this game, but I just wanted to get that off my chest because that was just ridiculous. So, look, the bottom line is Pitt has legit at-large aspirations. We'll know how real for sure that is tomorrow when the rankings come out, but right now they're 24. And again, they finished the regular season against teams who last week were ranked 10, 16, and 18 with the carnage that happened kind of in the middle of that ranking. Notre Dame's probably going to be 9. You can bet that Georgia Tech and probably Miami are going to be top 15 teams as well. If you win out against that, you're 10-2, you're in the ACC title game, and there's a real chance you're an at-large team. So I'm not sure why you're putting a glass ceiling on yourself here. But anyway, I digress. Pitt is a completely different team since Mason Heinschel has been inserted into the starting lineup. He started 5 games. He's averaging 300 yards passing per game, 12 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. The issue here, Clinton, is stats can lie, and Florida State is the only defense he has faced that's in the top 100 of total defenses this season. And even then, Florida State's like middle of the pack defending the pass. He's been sacked 16 times in 5 games. That goes along with the 5 interceptions. Why is this a key, Clinton? Because the last 7 games, on the 7-game win streak for Notre Dame, their defense has 24 sacks and 16 interceptions. They lead the nation in interceptions this year, despite not having won the first 2 games. Overall, the statistics still don't look great against the pass. I think Notre Dame is like in the 80s still in pass yards per game, but they have been much better the last 6 weeks, and that does feature offenses. 90th, thank you. It features offenses in Arkansas, NC State, and USC that have all been very good this year. So it's not like Notre Dame's been playing pop gun offenses. For Pitt in this game, you need to figure out a way to get the ground game going. This is a terrible matchup for them on the ground. They're 104th in the nation in yards per game, and they're facing a Notre Dame defense that, even after facing a Navy team that can only run the ball, is still 16th nationally in yards per game on the ground allowed and 15th in yards per carry allowed. If you cannot get that ground game going, you're going to have to throw the ball a ton to move the football, and you're playing right into the hands of a Notre Dame defense that's averaging 3.5 sacks and 2 interceptions per game on their current win streak. How do you think that is going to go with an offensive line that has not been able to protect the quarterback and a quarterback who's good for a pick a game? On the other side of the ball, what I am interested to see from Notre Dame in this game is how do you attack this Pitt defense? Because they have the best, well, not the best, they have one of the 3 best rush defenses in the nation. 3rd nationally in yards per game allowed, and they're tied for 1st in yards per carry allowed on defense. How is Pitt going to try to attack you? Are they going to do what Navy, Boston College, and NC State tried and just try to load the box, slam the line of scrimmage, and take the runaway? Or are they going to try to play it a little bit more straight up and try to devote more resources to help a pass defense that is not very good, Clinton? They're 97th in yards per game, 56th in yards per attempt, and 66th in pass efficiency defense. And what we've seen from this Notre Dame team is if you try to take away the run, you try to play cover 0 to devote more resources to stopping the run game, they are just going to throw it over your head, and they have been very, very good at doing that this season. I just don't know how Pitt scores enough in this game to keep up.
So that's where I was going to go. One of my big keys in this was seeing Pitt's run D at 80.9 yards per game, as Ryan mentioned, 3rd in the country, versus the Notre Dame rushing offense, which currently sits at 26th in the country at 194.4 yards per game. So almost a something's got to give here. You kind of got to lean with the favorite of Notre Dame here. They've also now faced multiple weeks where people try to stack the box and not let them run the ball. So Jeremiah Love continues to push his name into the Heisman conversation with explosive game after explosive game. That is a challenge that Pitt has not faced yet, especially when your last 3 games are probably the toughest opponents you've played, and that then following Georgia Tech and Miami to end the season. So you get a first true test here. The Notre Dame offense overall, too, is 15th in the country, 466.1 yards per game. And looking at the Pitt defense, they're 25th in the country at only 318.3. So overall, yardage-wise, these teams are fairly even in respective to their ranks of each side of the ball. Pitt's got the home field. I don't know how much Accushire Stadium is a home field advantage for the Pitt Panthers. I mean, it gets pretty raucous for the Steelers, so maybe if you can get some of the Steelers faithful to come out in this game for you,
Well,
that
I think
might
the
be
issue
beneficial
is
to you.
there's like a lot of Western PA Catholics who
Yeah.
are just Notre Dame
I'm going to
fans
say I
because
think
they're
there's going to
Catholic.
be some Notre Dame fans there. It's an intriguing battle again for the defenses too. With Pitt's offense versus Notre Dame's defense. Pitt is almost 40 points a game, so they're sixth in the country, going against the Notre Dame defense that has improved a ton as the season went on, and it's 18.8 point games. 18.8 points per game, 17th in the country. I think where we need to look at this, though, Pitt has a little bit of a problem with the penalties. They rank 129th in the FBS, averaging 70 penalty yards per game. You cannot afford to do this in such a big matchup here. But on the flip side, Pitt's defense is solid. Can they hold up against a Notre Dame offense that only ranks 123rd in the FBS in red zone offense, scoring on only 75% of their trips? So I think a part of that is probably aided by your guys' shitty kicking game that you've had this year.
Also true.
So you look at this and it feels like a fairly even matchup. However, after the Narduzzi comments,
this is who Pitt has played this year. They played Duquesne, they played Central Michigan, they played West Virginia, they lost that game. They lost to Louisville, they were up 17-0 and completely collapsed in the second half. On their 5-game win streak, they played Boston College, Florida State, Syracuse, NC State, and Stanford. Who on that schedule is even remotely comparable talent-wise to what they will see in this game?
I don't know. You said NC State was good and they beat NC State.
The NC State has a
Notre
pretty
Dame
decent
beat them.
offense.
I
And NC State does have good offense.
I think the biggest
But
thing for Pitt,
they also gave up 34 points in that game and scored 53.
I think the biggest thing for Pitt, you can only play what's on your schedule. You win your games and you get your record. That's a bad loss to West Virginia, although West Virginia's kind of popping here as of late. I wasn't feeling Pitt to start this, and I wasn't feeling Pitt even more after the Pat Narduzzi comments. I don't think I'm on the train with you to think that Notre Dame's just going to absolutely bludgeon them, but I think Notre Dame wins by double digits, so give me the Irish minus 10.5.
So, for frame of reference, when they played NC State, Pitt was up for most of the game, so NC State didn't run the ball a ton. They only ran it 19 times, but they ran for 8.5 yards per carry.
Mm-hmm.
So, just to kind of give a frame of reference there. But, yeah, I think that Pitt is a bit of a paper tiger, and I'm sure that this will not come back to bite me in the ass on Saturday while I'm on a fucking airplane, hopefully. But
Not getting to watch the game.
no, I will hopefully I will be able to watch the game. I might cause an international incident, which is fine. I guess it would just be a national incident. I think that's a federal
Ryan
crime.
never
though.
gets back home to do the recap show Sunday
Yeah.
night because they have to stop the plane of his vulgar language.
Ryan gets yanked off an airplane and thrown in federal prison. I think there's an Always Sunny episode about that. Anyway, let's go on to the Big Ten. I got a cackle of this game being on the Big Ten Network, but I get that there's a reason for it. Iowa at USC. The Trojans a 7.5-point favorite in LA. 3:30 on the Big Ten Network. Iowa. This is going to be an interesting matchup, Clinton, because Iowa is 6th nationally in yards per attempt allowed and 2nd nationally in pass efficiency defense, and just overall fantastic on defense, 4th in total defense and tied for 7th in yards per play allowed. And we just saw USC play a really freaking good Nebraska defense and not have a ton of success moving the ball. This feels like it might be kind of one of those, this feels kind of like a trip to the dentist games for USC, where it's just like we're fucking pulling teeth to try to move the ball here. However, we did just witness Iowa surrender 261 yards on the ground to Oregon in a monsoon game where you figure they probably weren't going to be passing a ton. That is a little bit concerning. Weather obviously was a factor in that game, and Iowa's looked salty against 2 top 10 teams this year in Indiana and the aforementioned Oregon. But they had the advantage of both of those games being at home. The defense will travel for sure. But can they bottle up a great offense away from Kinnick the same way that they did for much of the game against Oregon and Indiana, Clinton?
I'm trying to think through this game, and as impressive as Iowa has been, Ryan took my point right off of here. The game's not at home. Iowa has drawn their two toughest opponents while at home. This USC offense is 503.2 yards per game, second in the FBS. Their passing game is 10th in the country at 303 yards per game. Now, USC's defense has improved. It's not elite, but it's improved. The problem is I just don't think an Iowa offense that's overall yardage ranked 122nd in the country and 133rd in passing is going to put a ton of stress on USC. And part of the fact, too, is I just don't know if Oregon's as good as we think they are. That's a possibility
also a
here.
thing. Yep.
And USC has an explosive offense. Now, I wouldn't envision that you have a look-ahead scenario here because Iowa is a very serious and solid team.
Mm-hmm.
But Oregon looms for USC in a game that rides a ton, not only for playoff implications, but a shot at a Big Ten championship if Ohio State were to choke against Michigan at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
I believe with USC's win over Oregon, USC, if they went out, would be going to play Indiana in the Big Ten championship.
They would have the
So they
tiebreaker
have a
over
shot.
Michigan, yes.
So they have the shot to do it. I know you went over their passing. I mean, 146.7 is pretty damn elite, man. Again, you got an Oregon team that was bruised and battered at wideout, and it was in a monsoon, so that kind of limits their ability to throw the ball.
Yep.
The problem is, even if you get USC in the third down, which Iowa does a great job of, USC's fifth in the country, converting almost 52%, man. Iowa's going to have to, again, I think, find a way to pass the ball in this game. And again, it doesn't need to be big-time passes, but you've got to find a way to move the ball. If you get down 2 scores in this game is over.
Yeah,
barring
for sure.
a miracle by Iowa's special teams. And I think, again, they're going to need some special team stuff to try to make plays here. I like the Trojans minus 6.5 at home. I don't think this is a blowout, but somewhere in the neighborhood of like a 10 to 14 point game and a win for USC at home.
So I think if you're Iowa, the one thing you're looking at in this is we talked about this a couple weeks ago. I think going into the Notre Dame game that USC's rush defense has been the better portion of their defense, especially coming off of that Michigan game. But they've been sliding a little bit, and obviously giving up 300 rushing yards plays a role in that. But they're now tied for 78th in the country in yards per carry allowed. Could that be a factor in this game, Clinton? It could be. Iowa runs the ball pretty well. I don't know if they can be two-dimensional enough to keep them honest, though, which would be the concern for me if I was an Iowa fan. I was thinking of agreeing with you when I was kind of going through this earlier, but I can't get that Nebraska game out of my head, and USC just did not look comfortable at all in that game. And maybe that's the environment, a night game in Lincoln, and now you're at home, but I think this game's going to end up looking a little bit like that Nebraska game where I think USC wins. Maybe not in the same way where they're kind of trailing throughout the course of the game and then maybe caught a little bit of a break that Raiola got hurt. I think they'll be ahead for most of the game, but I think this is going to be close, like a 23-17 game where Iowa covers and maybe it's a backdoor cover, but I just think this is going to be close. That's all. Speaking of Oregon, Friday night, 9 o'clock on Fox. We will be there, Clinton, and guess what? We are going to get fucking rained on. The forecast right now calls for rain, at least when I looked at this earlier today, from 1:30 to 10:15-ish. You better bring your poncho, man.
We're going to be wet.
Yeah, I need to remember to pack that like as soon as we're done here, or else I will forget.
I'm
Big
sure
question.
they sell raincoats or ponchos in Oregon, Ryan.
Well, that's true, but I want to bring my own. I don't want to wear a trash bag. Big question in this game is the status of Darius Taylor. I have not seen an update as of this afternoon. Here's a stat for you, Clinton. When Darius Taylor records 10-plus touches, Minnesota is 14-6. When he does not, they are 6-9. He is of vital importance to what they do on offense. Because if he cannot go, Minnesota cannot run the ball. They are 123rd nationally in yards per game and tied for 114th in yards per carry for this season. He's essentially played 3 full games. One of those was against Ohio State. He had 32 yards in that game, not holding that against him. He had 140 in the opener against Buffalo and then 148 against Nebraska. I don't think it's a stretch to say that if he's healthy, this is a completely different game. But if he cannot go, what is the path to victory for Minnesota here? I'd say, short week, letdown, look ahead spot for Oregon, but we thought that last year when we saw Oregon play at Purdue and they steamrolled them. And granted, this Minnesota team, I think, is a lot better than last year's Purdue team is, but home game for the Ducks here. I don't know what the path for Minnesota is here. What do you got for me?
I have the path, and that's the weather.
That's
because
fair
Wisconsin
enough.
had a game with Oregon 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago because of weather. This is now Oregon's third straight game, and you can even argue it wasn't a straight game, but the Indiana game was in precipitation as well. Oregon is getting pounded by weather this year, which is making all of their games close. You just had to come off of a hard-fought win in Kinnick Stadium against the Iowa Hawkeyes. Now you get to come back at home, and it's a different environment in Autzen. Drake Lindsey's going to have to play at the top of his game. I hope, especially with us being there in person, we get to see Darius Taylor run the ball because Oregon's going to be able to run the ball. They're 239.7 yards per game, 6th in the country. When it rains, it pours. Well, guess what? They're going to pour it on you with running the ball in this game. However, Minnesota does have a pretty solid rush defense. They're sitting at 108 yards per game, 21st in the country. One thing we know about Minnesota and defense travels. So Minnesota should be able to put up a fight defensively in this game. If it's going to rain, I don't expect a shootout. I expect another close scoring game that Minnesota's going to hang around in as long as they take care of the ball. And Oregon is 20th in the country with a +6 turnover margin. They won the turnover battle 2-1 last week against Iowa. I guess it would be 1-2 against Iowa. And those turnovers certainly helped, especially where you had the botch snap and had to kick it out of the back of the end zone for the safety.
Mm-hmm.
Drake Lindsey's been good this year. This is a different scenario when you're on the road at Oregon. Autzen is super loud. Fans are going to show up whether it's wet or not, and this place is going to go crazy. But 25 points is a ton, Ryan, for a game that's going to be soaked again.
Yep.
And this is Oregon's third or fourth time in one. So I think Oregon wins, but I think Minnesota sticks within the 24.5. So give me the Gophers plus 24.5 here. If this were a dry game, I'd feel a little more comfortable with that 24.5. And if Oregon was healthier, we don't know the health of all these guys, especially because we're doing this show on Monday. But can DeCorian Moore get back? There's rumors and vibes that Evan Stewart could be making a return soon, which feels fairly improbable. But here he is. What type of percent will he be at? Is it a game you want him to come back in with this type of weather present, being his first one back? Alex Harkey, what's his status at right tackle this week? So there's a lot of injury questions for the Ducks. They can also play a factor in keeping this game close. But give me the Gophers plus 24.5. I will make a bold P that I think Coy Parrish picks off Dante Moore in this game and returns it for a pick six.
Yeah, we literally just saw a similar situation. I hope it does not fucking rain as much as it did for that Wisconsin game where I'm going to be pissed. But, we saw them fail to cover a big spread against Wisconsin because it was a rain game. And I could see this being a situation where it's kind of wet, kind of sloppy, and Oregon just goes with we're just going to get ahead and just run this shit out. But if Taylor doesn't go, I don't really know how Minnesota is going to move the ball. Again, they can't really run well without him. And Drake Lindsey has been fine this year, but now he gets the number one pass defense in yards per game in the country. So I'm with you. I'll take Minnesota to cover, but I don't think it's going to be like a close cover. It's just going to be kind of a Oregon can't really score or isn't trying to score cover. I don't know. I've been hurt before, and I will not be hurt again here. We got some big spreads here. Clinton, Wisconsin, fresh off of their first Big Ten win in 13 months. Their reward is going to Bloomington to take on Indiana. The Hoosiers a 30.5 point favor. This game 12 o'clock on Big Ten Network. Are we looking at Wisconsin a little differently with that win, or was that merely a Washington road disaster class?
It was a Washington road disaster combined with weather, combined with the injuries for the Huskies. Yeah. Ryan, when your punter has the most passing yards for your team, that is not going to bode well off an Indiana team who has to be breathing a sigh of relief because they probably should have lost last week. Yep. And you're going to IU at the Rock. They're going to bludgeon Wisconsin this game. I feel 100% confident This is not going to be my lock of the week, though, but I think 100% confidence Indiana, Kurt Signetti, and his boys are going to come out and kick Wisconsin's ass. Now, again, haven't looked at weather. Wisconsin plays defense. We know that. But the problem is Indiana plays defense too, and they get after the passer. And unless you're going to throw your punter out there to throw passes for you, you're not going to move the ball on this team. I like Indiana, and I like them big in this matchup. Continuing to make statements, continuing to try to find a way to get Fernando Mendoza a Heisman Trophy for the Indiana Hoosiers.
Yeah, so I was a little curious. I feel like Wisconsin's been better on defense of late. They're 41st in total defense, but they're still 78th in the country in yards per play allowed, which against an offense that has this type of explosive potential is not great. I just think last week might have been a little bit of fool's gold. You touched on the weather, you touched on the injuries. That was probably just a perfect storm of shit that came together for Wisconsin, and good for them. I'm glad that they got a win, but short of an all-time brain fart letdown here by Indiana, this feels like a game that they win like 48-6 and really don't sweat doing it. So I'm with you. I'm back on the Hoosiers to cover this one pretty easily here. Also, 12 o'clock on Fox at Wrigley Field, Michigan takes on Northwestern. Speaking of teams that we think are better than they are on defense, Clinton, we've been giving a lot of platitudes to the Northwestern defense for how they've played this year, but this is not a very good matchup for them. They're 64th in the country in rush defense and a far more concerning 99th in yards per carry allowed. So this, to me, it's going to feel like a 28 rushes game for Jordan Marshall, who has run the ball 65 times the last 3 games with no Justice Haynes. They are not saving the tread on his tires. They are just running that bad boy until he's a racing slick out there. But outside of that, man, if I'm Michigan, I'm not trying to fart around too much in this game. I looked at the weather for Chicago to see if there was going to be rain, blustery, wind, or whatnot, and it doesn't look too bad. But as bad as Northwestern is defending the run, they are far better against the pass. This does not feel like a quote-unquote work on some stuff type of game with your quarterback and the receivers, because that's how you find yourself in a situation like you did against Purdue last week where they score with 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter to make it a 5-point game. Don't let them hang around, because if you let Northwestern hang around, this is a team that can sting you. Another good thing for Michigan in this one is their D has been a little bit more susceptible to the pass than the run. And Preston Sohn has been susceptible to not being good against Power 4 defenses this year. He has yet to exceed 170 passing yards in a game against a Power 4 team. And for the season overall, Clinton, this is including all games, he is averaging a paltry 6.2 yards per attempt for the season. I think Michigan asserts itself on the ground and wins this one. Not like a blowout, but I think they win this one like 28-14 in cover.
Yeah, 2 big problems here for me for Northwestern. They rank 116th in defensive third down percentage. They allow opponents to convert 44% of the time. And Northwestern is also 112th in the FBS with a -5 turnover margin. Meanwhile, Michigan is a 10th ranked +8 margin. So Michigan doesn't give it away, and Northwestern, a.k.a. Preston Stone, likes to give it away. I've been saying this entire time, I think this is a game where Michigan is going to be challenged. I think Northwestern at home at Wrigley can keep pace. Michigan's not going to go out here and hang 45 points. This is not what this offense does. If we're looking at the Michigan offense, they score 28 points a game. And again, against a team that plays solid defense. I'm not going to say great defense, but solid defense, but they get you at home. Mm-hmm. If this is a game where you try, and I could see them do it, Ryan, because they know they have Jordan Marshall and can run the ball if they need it in the back pocket. I think this is a game they're going to, again, try to get Bryce Underwood rolling here and get him in a rhythm with passing. And I say that because as much as Michigan has won the Ohio State game the past few years by winning the line of scrimmage, and they are certainly going to come to try to punch Ohio State in the face, what is going to be their response if Ohio State stops it? They're going to need something out of Bryce Underwood.
They're screwed.
So I think you're not playing this game on the mistake by the lake, so the win will be a little less effective. I think Michigan has a big test in this game and a huge challenge from the Northwestern Wildcats. The problem is, I just said it a few minutes ago, I think it's the turnovers. And I think Preston Stone is going to have a key turnover either very early or very late in this game. Not in the middle. It's early to where it opens it up for Michigan, or it's late where they get to seal it. But I like Northwestern to keep it close. The Purdue game gave me a little perspective on Michigan, and that was a home game. And I think Northwestern is going to have a lot of energy. Ryan, in years like this where Northwestern not necessarily is a Big Ten title contender, but they're not a bottom feeder, they usually get an upset. And I feel like, I know they had the Penn State one. We look at that now. Do we really call that an upset? This could be one that could clip Michigan. I think Michigan wins, but I like Northwestern plus 11.5.
I think you're crazy. I think Michigan wins this easily.
3:30
3:30
any
FS1.
games easily this year?
Central Michigan, but that's about it.
Yeah. I think Northwestern might be a little better than CMU.
Maybe. Probably. Don't sleep on the Chips. They've been good this year. 3:30 FS1, we have Maryland at Illinois via Illini, a 14.5-point favorite. Clinton, I have been trying to stay on the Maryland bandwagon, but I think after last week, I'm just off of it. They could not hit 100 yards passing against the 82nd ranked pass defense a week ago. I feel like we talked about this like 2 weeks ago when Illinois was playing Rutgers, and they're like, Rutgers has the worst pass defense in the Big Ten. They do not. Illinois is worse than Rutgers from a yards per game standpoint, and maybe that's a silver lining for Maryland in this game, but coming off of last week, I'm at an all-time low on them. But the good news for Maryland is a week after getting stomped by your role and player of the week, Antoine Raymond, Illinois does not have that same type of potent rush attack. But the Illinois pass game with Luke Altmaier was obviously still very good. The Maryland defense that started off the season so good is now 94th in yards per game and 67th in yards per play allowed. I'm just going to take Illinois to cover this at home because I'm all the way out on Maryland until they show me I should be back in on them. Big game for them, though. They do need to win this game if they have any hopes of going to a bowl game this year.
Yeah, Maryland's not winning this game. Illinois is too good and too sound of a football team. Maryland is 123rd in the country in time of possession, Ryan. That's not good when you're going on the road against a team who can score. And you're going to be even less time of possession because you're going to be more 3-and-outs against this Illinois defense. You said you don't really know what it has going for them. It's Malik Washington, and that's about it for Maryland. And if this game were at Maryland, I guess I would feel a little more confident that they maybe have a chance, but I'm still on the side that I think Malik Washington needs more weapons. And guess what? Luke Altmaier has. He has weapons, especially in Hank Beatty, who has 49 catches, 730 yards, and 3 touchdowns on the year. You are correct. They don't run the ball well. Caden Fegan, 396 on 97 for 5 touchdowns this year. So if Illinois can capitalize on what Antoine Raymond just did against Maryland, and that's kind of beat them on the ground, they are 98th in the country at allowing rushing yards, and we know Maryland really cannot rush the ball. So Illinois can kind of sit back in their defense and try to defend the pass. I like Illinois to cover this spread. The last time the Illini were home, and I said they'd win by more than what the spread was, they did, and I'm going to swing for the fences again. Give me the Illini by 18 in this game.
Ooh, specific. Also 3:30 CBS. The fact that this is a CBS game just makes me chuckle. A pair of 3 and 6 teams.
Poor Gary Brad.
I know. Penn State, a 6.5-point favorite at Michigan State. Clinton, can Penn State finally get a P4 win?
Can they get a Big Ten win?
Well, yeah.
I know
Let's
it's
start
within the
either
P4,
either or, man.
This is the battle of the winless Big Ten teams. Somebody will get a Big Ten win this weekend.
Finally.
Do we have any word? Or what's the quarterback sitch at Michigan State? Have you seen anything? I haven't.
I
heard
saw
anything.
quarterback to be determined. Quote, playing both possible. Was what
they're
going to
hold that one close to the vest so that Knowles can't kind of settle in on them. Ryan, I just don't know what Penn State has left in the tank, man.
I agree with you.
If you look at the way the games, and I get it, Michigan State's loss to Minnesota was a heartbreaker, but they kind of found something in offense. I'm not even going to try to pronounce their backup quarterback, maybe starting quarterback's name now. They kind of found some momentum with him. And if they utilize him well in this game, Penn State might have some trouble. You know, Ethan Grunkenmeyer looked fine against Indiana. Nicholas Singleton actually came back to life a little bit. Knowles' defense has been so bad, dude. So bad.
Yeah.
And Michigan State doesn't really have the offensive line, though, to protect the quarterbacks. I don't know what they offer to try to stress this Penn State defense. I'm stuck here, man. It's like I'm stuck between two rocks because neither one of these teams are good, and I don't know who to pick.
Yeah.
6.5 feels about right, but I don't know which way it should go because they both suck. And if the right Michigan State team comes out and they can give some protection versus a Penn State team who is downtrodden, they're coming out of Sad Valley with another disappointing loss at home. And here's the key. You mentioned earlier when you said off the heartbreaking loss to Indiana. What happened to them the last time they had a heartbreaking loss? And that was Oregon.
That's true.
They lost the following week. And I just don't know what this team has left to do it. I think Penn State continues to fall. I think Michigan State wins outright. Give me Sparty plus 6.5. I'm going to regret that decision. But I just don't know what Penn State has left in the tank, Ryan.
So
2 times they have sold their soul to try to win a game, and it hasn't worked. And it's been at home. And then they had to go on the road the next week. They went to UCLA, and now they're going to Michigan State. Tell me what Penn State's done to deserve minus 6.5 here
I agree.
on the road.
I'm with you. I think, I mean, for me, the biggest thing in this one is kind of the give a shit factor, right? Like, both of these teams are 3-6. Both of them have 3 games left. Both of them need to win out to make a bowl game. I don't know that listen, it's not fair for me to make a generalization like that. But given the expectations around Penn State, how many of those guys do you think are jazzed about the opportunity to win 3 straight games to finish the season playing the fucking Little Caesars Pizza Bowl in Detroit?
None.
If that's even what it's called anymore.
They won't be playing it anyways because you're going to opt out.
I also don't know, because like Michigan State's kind of in a similar situation, right? I mean, the expectations weren't as high as they were, not even close to as high, but I feel like they were supposed to take a step forward to bowl eligibility this year, and they've been bad all year, and no one looks like they're having fun. Jonathan Smith looks miserable on the sidelines. How much fight is there left in Michigan State? Like, it's so funny that this is on CBS because it just feels like a who gives a shit game. Like,
so it might end up being a really good game.
I don't know that anyone on the field cares. I don't know that anyone watching outside of the 2 fan bases cares. Some people from the fan bases might not care either, but Minnesota, Jesus, I was looking at the schedule here. Michigan State has lost 6 consecutive games after starting 3-0. They did have a bye last week to get their shit together, but they are coming off of 2 straight losses where you lost to your rival and you lost a heartbreaker in overtime where you collapsed late.
Both of which you arguably could have won.
Yeah, true. I will say that it looks and feels like the offense has moved a little bit better with Milivojevic this season than it has Aiden Childs, but Michigan State, they're tied for 106th nationally in yards per play allowed. They're 93rd in yards per carry. That doesn't feel great when the Penn State game plan is probably going to be, let's get Katron Allen going after he got stifled last week. But I did write on my key for Penn State, what's left in the tank last week felt like a give it everything we got game. Do you play for pride, or are you just kind of checked out now? I think Penn State is the better team, and I would not touch this with a fucking 10-foot pole with real money, but completely absent of any information on the 2 teams' mental status, I'm just going to take Penn State because I think they're the better team, and like I said, it would not surprise me if Michigan State wins this game outright because they want it more, but throwing my hands up, I don't know, but give me Penn State. I know that's fantastic analysis, but what?
I mean, it's a what the fuck game. You don't know what you're going to get, man. Or call it the box of chocolates game because you don't know what you're going to get.
The box of chocolates game. Maybe it'll be a classic. 7 o'clock on FS1. Speaking of classics, we have Purdue at Washington. The Huskies a 16.5 point favorite. But kind of the walking wounded heading into this game, Clinton. They lost their starting right tackle and center during the game last week, plus Jonah Coleman and Denzel Boston. The early returns on Jonah Coleman do not sound promising. I don't know if he is going to play this weekend. And the Jed Fish comments about Boston after the game, too, weren't necessarily super encouraging either. It didn't sound long-term, but he's like, yeah, we're going to have to reevaluate him. This is a tough one. This is another tough one to pick just because Purdue has not been good. There's no doubt about that. They're 102nd in the nation in total defense, 114th in yards per play allowed, but they haven't really been getting destroyed this year. They backdoor covered against Ohio State last week. And I mean, I get that only happens because Ohio State decided to not kill them, but they kept it close against Michigan. They lost a heartbreaker to Rutgers. They were leading Minnesota in the fourth quarter. Go back to the Illinois game. They were only down 9 early in the third quarter of that game. They lost Ryan Brown against Northwestern, which didn't help. But even then, they held the Northwestern offense in check pretty well. Kept it close-ish against USC, and they kept turning it over in the red zone. You take away a couple of those turnovers, it's probably a little closer. And then even in the Notre Dame game, when they fell apart in the second half, they were in spitting distance at halftime. So this is a team that's battled hard this year. The thing is, I just don't have a good feel for this Washington team. They're two completely different teams on home and at the road. It's a tough trip for Purdue going against this team at home with the long travel, and I think they'll want to make a statement in this game, but with the way Purdue has hung around this year and with the injury uncertainty around Washington, I think Purdue will keep it close enough to cover. I don't think they'll win, but I will take Purdue if you're going to give me almost 3 scores.
Yeah, the difference in the Washington team is they're at home for this game.
Yeah.
They play better at home.
That's
Muhammad
true.
is a good back behind Coleman. He's not Jonah Coleman, but he is a good back. I think Washington's going to continue to utilize Damon Williams' legs. And for the sake of me winning this college football championship fantasy that we're in, go ahead and rest Denzel Boston this week. I am a lock for the playoffs. I've outscored everyone and have the top record in the league. So even if I lose, the worst I could fall is to 4th, and that would take about 3 people outscore me by about 100 points, I believe. So just get Denzel Boston healthy for the fantasy playoffs next week because that's when I need him. I agree with you, though, Ryan. I think 17 is too big for this game. Purdue has been competitive. They show fight. My one caveat to why this may not work is teams, and I only know this for the Ohio State stat because they're my team, but worst teams like Purdue the week after they play Ohio State, it usually does not bode well for them. They are usually beat the hell out of, and they don't do well. I think the one positive for Purdue is Ohio State was nice and didn't try to beat the hell out of you. They played a slow game, ran the clock, kept their play counts low, and possessions long. I think Purdue plus 16.5 is the play here, but I think Washington wins by 14.
Wrapping us up here, speaking of Ohio State, we have UCLA at Ohio State, 7:30 on NBC. Ohio State fans, you get your night game, but you're a 31.5 point favorite. UCLA is 124th nationally in rushing yards per game allowed, 126th in yards per carry allowed. Clinton, this feels like a great opportunity to get the ground game going. I don't like this matchup at all for UCLA. Ohio State has been surgical this year. UCLA has not been. I'll let you riff with your stats, but I will say I will take the Bruins to cover because why would I have faith in Ohio State covering a big spread like this? They have shown no desire to do so this year. So
they have a couple times, actually. Minnesota, their last night game, they absolutely annihilated. And Wisconsin, they annihilated when they wanted to throw the ball. I think Ohio State getting a primetime night game here, they were going to open up the game. It's supposed to be nice weather, I believe, here in Columbus. I think it's supposed to be in the 60s. They're going to sling the rock, Ryan. They're going to open it up, and they are going to kick UCLA's ass when they come into the horseshoe. I think Ohio State wins this one by at least 32. How about that? That's a little above 31.5, right? So give me the Buckeyes plus 31, minus 31.5. Good Lord. I do agree with you, though. Ohio State's going to continue to try to tinker with the run game here. Some question marks at offensive line. Will Daniels be back at right tackle this week? Is Padilla healthy enough at right guard coming off an ankle to overtake Tegra Shabola, who's been shitbola this year? It's a roller coaster with him at right guard. He has a good game. He has a bad game. He's a good game, a bad game. I've had most Buckeye fans, and I have seen enough of that. Give me Padilla at right guard and leave him there so he can get 2 weeks of work before they play Michigan. Ohio State's defense is filthy. My guess is they're going to put some type of a spy with Arvell Reese or Sonny Styles in this game to try to contain Nico's legs because I don't think UCLA is going to be able to pass on Ohio State at all. So it's Nico's legs that are going to have to make game-changing plays. Julian Sayin, this is why I think they're going to let him sling it. And I know they don't care about individual awards very much. But This is our last game, so quick Heisman note. Apparently, Fernando Mendoza, he gets his Heisman drive. I get it. It came right after he threw an interception and almost lost his team the game. The knock against Julian Sand this week has been for the Heisman. Well, we haven't had to see him come back from trailing to win a game. No shit, Sherlock, because they've kicked everyone's ass. Why should he have to have a game-winning Heisman moment when they just bludgeon everybody? Should Ohio State intentionally get down 21 in this game so Julian Sand can throw 7 touchdowns to come beat UCLA?
Clinton,
Ohio State doesn't trail because they're better.
Here's the thing. No one actually knows what the Heisman Trophy is given for.
Other than it's a quarterback award.
Well, it's a quarterback award, but it's about moments. It's not about raw stats unless you fucking Joe Burrow it.
Dog, you're only in that moment because you're not good enough to handle the team. Ohio State wasn't in a game with Penn State because they kicked the shit out of them.
Or
you can't fault a player for not having a competitive game when you blow the doors off of everybody.
Okay, well, when you're blowing the doors off everyone, how are you going to sit there and make a real argument that this person is the most outstanding player in college football when your whole team is outstanding?
I don't know, because he has an 4% completion rate on the season, and it's not like he's throwing 5-yard passes. This isn't Bo Nix in Oregon's offense. I'm not saying Mendoza shouldn't be there. I'm just saying this continued. Whoever else also made the post said, well, when you could look at head-to-head games, Indiana boat raced Illinois, and then Ohio State only beat them by this much. I'm like, well, motherfucker, Penn State just about beat Indiana last week and should have beat them, and Ohio State bludgeoned them. It's the same thing the other way around.
It's about moments. It's never been about raw stats. You need a Heisman moment. And if you're...
Okay, well, flip on the TV and watch Julian Sand every week throw beautiful darts over double-covered people into the hands of his wide receivers. Those are plenty of moments. I don't need to see him pull out a game to win it. Now, he's going to get a chance because I think the Ohio State-Michigan game is going to be close. I think he's going to have to make plays. But he doesn't need you say moments. It doesn't have to be a comeback win moment. Just watch the games. Dan Orlovsky needs to go watch the games because he hasn't watched enough of Julian Sand based on his idiotic tweets that he posts out there. I don't need a game-winning moment. I watch plenty of the moments. And he delivers the ball. Julian Sand, I believe, is still the Heisman favorite. I don't know. Maybe Mendoza is now.
They are co-favorites at this time.
Yeah, and that's ignorant because Julian Sand is the best quarterback in the country. I don't go on many tirades on this.
Brother, it's never been about best or most surgical. It's been most outstanding player. You need outstanding moments. And if your team is so good that you can't have outstanding moments, that sucks, but that's part of the deal.
You can't be penalized for that, though.
You literally can be penalized for that.
You can't be.
You can be.
Mendoza damn near lost his team the game. Everyone forgets that. He threw
and then he won it.
Should have won. Yes, but you can't negate the fact that he had a horrible moment and then followed it with a good moment.
Julian Sand doesn't need to win his team games because his defense gives up 6 points. He's never under any game pressure.
Okay.
You can't be the most outstanding player in college football if you're never under game pressure. Motherfucker, you could quarterback Ohio State to 12-0 this year.
No, I could not.
Yes, you could.
Christ, no, I could not.
Yes,
watch my NCAA college football video game gameplay, and you would see otherwise.
Look, all the belly aching about this is nonsense. They're going to remain co-favorites, and as long as one of them don't shit their pants, whoever wins the Big Ten title, that quarterback is winning the Heisman Trophy.
As long as they don't put their votes in too soon. We know a lot of people vote before the Big Ten or before conference championship weekend.
That's a whole different fucking thing.
Hope that they wait and let these two settle it out on the field. And
watch Ty Simpson throw 6 touchdowns against Oklahoma this weekend, and now he's the favorite. I got Clinton so fired up that his computer stopped working.
I wouldn't be surprised. I just think some people nationally need to be at Michigan.
I hope that your recording picked that up because I heard none of it. You got so fucking hot and bothered that you ruined your internet connection.
I mainly was just saying he's going to have his moment. It's against Michigan. I think he's going to help Ohio.
All right. Clinton, we're not doing the Mac.
It's all
Minute
because
I can't hear you anymore.
I sat in a different spot tonight.
You ruined it. You have completely frozen, and yeah. Anyway, no Mac Minute tonight because I can't hear Clinton. That is all for this evening. We will be back with you guys on no other show this week. We'll be back with you guys on Sunday for the recap show. Gives us some time to hopefully not get
Should be a good
delayed.
one.
Hopefully not get delayed flights back and get back in time to figure out what else happened. in
Yes,
college
and
football.
that event, it'll be on Monday.
Yep, we'll figure it out as we go, but planning for Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern time for the recap show from Week 12. If you're in Eugene this weekend, find us, say hey. We'll be bumming around, hopefully not getting too wet and cold. Thanks for joining us tonight. Thank you for listening. Enjoy the games. We'll see you next week.